Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all. Thank you, Mark, as usual, for attending our second story, our second part from the story of Mission Magic. We have discussed the last time about, if we recall, the Mickey Mouse. There is the culture, the engagement, and now also we would like to complete this discussion with you and hear great stories as usual. Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Walid. Very, very good to be here again and have an opportunity to share some of these stories. So we talked a lot about kind of culture, and one of the things that Disney is renowned for is really building, putting emphasis and putting effort into the creation of a culture. And I wanted to go into a little bit about sort of how they do that and how they kind of like spring it on you on the very first day. So the very first day that you were employed at the Walt Disney Company, but at least back in the 90s, 2000s when I was working there, you go through something called traditions, and traditions training is sort of day one. And it is back in that day, there was a video, and the video showed some of the history of the Walt Disney Company, some of the milestones, some of the great things that they did first, celebrating some of the things such as the first animated like talking kind of animated cartoon, the first full-length animated feature, and then the many different milestones and wonderful things leading up to the opening of Disneyland and a lot of things. And so you hear about just not just the history of the company, but also a history of Walt Disney himself and the man himself, and sort of how his career progressed and how he sort of continued to try and raise the level of service, raise the level of quality, raise the level of employee that he was really hiring in order to really deliver to to the public. And there's many Walt Disney quotes that you see on the internet if you type in Walt Disney quotes. My favorite of all time is, do what you do so well that people, when they see what you are doing, will tell others so that they too might come and experience what you did. And that was what we strived to do and deliver at the Disney store. We really wanted to create an experience so good that that was something that people would go away, tell other people about, and they would sort of come in.
Amazing.
So yeah, so that was sort of like, so in the first day, so some of the traditions that you learned were things like, at the Disney Company, you call everyone by their first name. Nobody has, Mr. So and so, Mrs. So and so. It was very less about titles. If you saw Bob Iger walking down this at the studio, you would say, "Hi, Bob," not "Hi, Mr. Iger." And so and then the other idea was to wear name tags. So name tags were really just an informal way of making sure that you can say, "Oh, hi, Waleed. Hi, whomever." And so you're able to introduce yourself immediately and try and create that relationship.
That's because the number is huge. I'm talking
Oh,
about,
it's
yeah,
yes, yes.
you're talking about how many branches around the world, how many stores, how many, multiple, as they say, sectors that need to be covered. So I think so. It's like, showing that we're one family
Yes.
from that perspective.
And a very good example was probably in somewhere around 2011, 2012. There were so many. So if you remember, Disney had obtained Pixar as well as Marvel, and then later Lucasfilm. And so they also worked with like other third-party companies like Mattel and other, and like with some Barbie and other kinds of stuff. And so all the different employees or the cast members had business cards that had what's their division, or what was, who did they represent, or what were they, Pixar, were they? And so there were these different teams. And in about 2011 or 2012, Disney said, okay, that's it. We're stopping. Everybody has to turn in their business cards, and everybody's business card is going to look exactly the same way. There's a little Mickey Mouse who looked like he was walking, and there was a name and the title, and everybody had the same card because they wanted to kind of show that everybody is part of the same team and part of the same company.
And the same language of the brand, I think so.
Yes.
It's making the
Yes.
brand in every interaction and every, I think so, movement of anybody in or out the sector. It's a branding issue. Very great idea.
Yes, yes. And so, and to that point, just to build on what you just said, what now? So I'm old. So when I first started with the company in 1993, the dress code was extremely strict.
Mm.
No facial hair, no tattoos that you could see. Women wore pantyhose, and then you couldn't wear. So what the uniform, we call it the costume. The costume was something that you had to remove before you walked out of the store. But once you walked out of the store, if you like, we used to have like a pink shirt and like dark pants. And so when you were out in the mall, you were still a representative of the Walt Disney Company. You had to take your name tag off, but you were still a representative. So in your mind, if somebody treated you poorly or you thought you were going to get angry with somebody, you were supposed to say, hold on, people might recognize that I work for Disney. I need to just relax and not let anything. So it was not just in the store and during work week. They really wanted to instill in their employees that you were a brand ambassador 24/7, regardless of where you found yourself. So that was very interesting.
Amazing that the image is so blueprinted in everyone.
Yes. And I don't know if it's still that to this day, but back then it was very much something that, and we liked it. We really enjoyed that because you wanted, when you're building a team, when you're building like a tribe or a movement or some kind of culture, you want those members to be very deeply ingrained in the idea that they are part of something special and they are part of something unique. And even though like, sometimes, you put on your costume and you look a little bit silly. It's like, why do you have pixie dust on your tie? Why are you wearing that very brightly colored vest? But at the same time, it was a point of pride because yes, I work for the Walt Disney Company. Yes, I represent the Walt Disney culture. And yes, if you come into my store, I will deliver a wonderful experience to you.
Yes, you remind me when I was working with American Express International. One of these are the brands of international companies that made a difference. I didn't work with international companies here in Saudi like Aramco or Sabic. These are international companies that serve around the world, and which multiple like PIF or all of these. But an example like American Express, I remember when I used to, not in Saudi, and in the States when I go, because we go to events, we go to all of these as a Saudi ambassador for American Express Saudi, in all of these areas, especially areas where the customers are taking vacations. American Express used to send us to that areas to test it before them.
Oh,
and see,
nice.
yeah, because we had a travel and hospitality center, and even especially in the premium. So we used to do it ourselves to check the journey. It was honestly fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, but we were representing American Express at that time. Well, I remember when I used to present my credit, my business card. Wow, the people, American Express. Yeah, this is, I'm sure about the Disney.
Oh,
American
certainly.
Express, yeah, Disney, I think so. Immediately a person will smile when
Yeah.
he knows you're Disney, coming from Disney. He will immediately, because it hits some memories for him and for his family. That's
Yes.
the differentiator here, I think so.
Yes. And I think to that point as well, instilling not just a sense of pride, but also a sense of loyalty in the brand. And Disney's not exclusively the one to do this. When I worked for Kmart and Sears, you would not come to the office with a bag from Target. or a bag from a different company. If you could have got that stuff at Kmart, why not? Why aren't you shopping there? Why, or like when I worked at Aspen Dental and people would say, yeah, I know I work here, but I go to my other dentist and my other dentists are really, and like, well, hold on. That's part of this sort of like enrolling in the organization and enrolling in the team to really kind of be able to say, I know what it's like because I shop there, I go there, and so we would have outings, in order to build culture. A lot of the things, some of it were corporate sponsored, and some of it were just the management team in the store would sponsor these outings that we would do. So if a new Disney movie would come out at the beginning, when I first started working there, we would close the store at 9 o'clock and we would go to a 10 o'clock show in the theater in the mall in order to watch it together as a team. And some people who had worked that morning and had gone home at like 3 o'clock, they would come back to the mall and then we would all go down there and watch the movie as a team. And then we could really all understand, like when our customers or our guests were coming in and talking about it, we knew, okay, yes, you know what? Remember when this happened? And remember when the part when this was going on? So it was just this idea that not only are you a member of this team, but you are putting in effort to be a good member, to be a solid member, to really kind of like create that.
Can
So
I
those,
ask? Can I ask a question?
yeah,
Why did you do put the effort? Yani, there are, I could see it in a lot of people. Let's say 2 generations. The generation, let's say me and you, we were putting the effort. That I don't see it now. I see it that they are doing hard work, but they're not doing effort.
yeah.
They are doing hard work, but they are not doing effort. This is my question. I usually ask people who are experienced like you, why did you put the effort?
It's funny. It is very funny because at the time, it felt like the right thing to do. It felt like we should do it because we will be better at our jobs. We will be better at delivering an experience that we are proud of. And also, you got to hang out with people who were pretty cool. These people, maybe you didn't get along perfectly with everybody, but there were some people on the team that, hey, it's nice to get out and do something together as a group and have kind of a shared experience and be able to have those memories. Now, this is back before cell phones and back before you could take a lot of photos. So there's a lot of people who they took pictures with film cameras, and then you see those pictures come up in Facebook every once in a while, and you're like, I remember that. Yeah, that was fun. And we were a little crazy and we were a little we were off the clock. We weren't at work. So, we were just having a really good time. So those are definitely important things. And I think the value of that is very underutilized. The value of team bonding and camaraderie is very underutilized.
It's like reminding me from while the education. I don't remember intermediate. I don't remember any. I remember high school, but I don't remember my university or college. This too, I feel it's very close to each other. I
Yeah.
think so. It goes back to the leadership and how it was presented and how it was there. In high school, usually there was immediately a group of people. One or two are leading to do funky and crazy things as usual every day, and the same thing happens, but the effort over there from a different perspective happens with this group of people. Yeah, I 100% see that. Yani, I could honestly, when I sit with a lot of people who are doing great jobs, but when I sit with them and I see that, I know that if he did 10% an effort here, it will make a difference.
Yeah.
From himself without pushing for that. But he's a hard worker, or she, but the effort is not there.
Yes.
I did my job. I did it for 20 hours. Thank you very much and goodbye. But no, you could do something better. You could do it. You could make it memorable.
Yes.
I don't know.
No, I think that's the key right there is taking advantage. So as much as in the last time we chatted, we talked about people leaning in and trying to make it memorable for the guest or for the customer. Here, it's really trying to make it memorable for the team member, the employee.
Yes.
And we had meetings, and sometimes the meetings were paid and sometimes they were not paid. And so, but it was this, but during those meetings, we would challenge ourselves as a management team. So there was the manager and a number of assistant managers to really either dress up or do like a role play or a dance or something like that had to do with the movie that was coming out. Most of the time, the meetings were before like a major theatrical animated feature release. And so we wanted to share some of the story points with the team so that when our guests came in, we'd be able to speak with them intelligently before the movie came out in theaters. So I remember dressing up in like when Hercules came out, in like togas, and when we did something for Pocahontas, when Pocahontas came out, and it was very Native American themed. And so there was there was this sense that you had permission to be a little goofy. I mean, Goofy is a character in Disney. And so it's like, here is permission to be a little bit crazy, but make it what you just said, memorable. Make it
Yes.
memorable for the
True.
team.
True.
Yeah.
True. True.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think the other piece, and some of these were more kind of corporate sponsored. So Disney was very big on volunteering and corporate social responsibility. And so they had a whole team at corporate that was in charge of kind of like not dictating, but really encouraging and empowering people to get projects that they might volunteer at outside of the office. And so we would do things like support the Special Olympics. We would bring like dogs to nursing homes, and we would do a lot of these different small volunteer events. But each one of them, you would feel good about yourself. Number one, you would get to spend more time with the team. Number two, and you're doing something good for the community or for other people. And so, and it wasn't because Disney needed to get publicity. Hey, look at them. They're volunteering and they work for Disney. No, it was very much we want you to feel like giving to others is important, to giving back to the community that you work in is important. And I think that is another very kind of foundational like need of building culture in an organization.
I think so. It also builds humanity in the employees
Yes.
because you're doing, social services on with the communities over there. I think so. This helps people to understand the fortunate, the people who are that they really need that support or help put in their minds. I could see it here, but you could see that 70% of this donation are happening either blood donations. Unfortunately, we can see it a lot here. Everyone is saying that the hospital come and took a lot of blood and all of that. But smart initiatives are under a lot of big ministries here. We could see that, yes.
Yeah. So I'll say two more things. Number one, I think, is that there was something that we called the rule of mission magic. And the rule of mission magic was, if it is in the best interest of the guest, you have permission to break like a rule. So a simple example is if a guest returned something and it was supposed to, you only are able to return it in 30 days, but they tell you, oh, it's, I was out of town or my son got sick and so I couldn't come back, can you still take it back? The policy says 30 days, but of course we're going to take it back because it's the right thing to do for a guest. And so there was a number of situations where people would be able to say, well, I thought about the rule of mission magic when I made this decision. And it doesn't mean it's always going to be a right decision. And so, but it's a coaching moment, a teaching moment. But if you at least put that rule into place, do the right thing for the guest. That's the rule. And say, okay, you could probably go err on one side or the other of that rule, but we're either going to say, okay, next time, think about it like this, or great job. That's exactly why we have this rule. That's the kind of thing that we want to be known for. And that's very important to have something like that. We're just giving people permission to do that.
It's like you're giving them authority, giving them the
Yes.
responsibility, making
Yes.
them responsible. That you know our goal, so you're responsible to happen without coming back to me. I trust you. I give you the confidence that you could do it. So I need to see a smile. Yes, amazing. It's an amazing
Yeah.
approach.
Yes. And so the last thing is really, I think really having this shared mission and values from the very top, and really not just putting it on paper and hanging it on the wall and saying, here's our mission, here's our values, but really truly stating them and then living them. And when you say living them, it's not like, okay, that's, for me, who's on the front lines, it's my job to do this. But, I keep hearing like, why are you spending all this money on this other stuff? And why are you not following the rules over in corporate? No, it has to go from top to bottom. It's when you say shared means like throughout the entire organization. And I think that's really what gives people an opportunity to be a part of something that's greater than themselves, because then they see it, they know it, they understand it, and they can test against it. You could make it a litmus test. You can say, is this really aligned with our values and the goals and our mission? And it's like, kind of, but not really. Okay, then we shouldn't do that. So yeah, that's what I think is probably the most important piece on building a culture.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. I could see it especially we could see it here in the implementation of the Vision 2030. It's 100% communicating why before and after, and how the progress is happening to everyone. There is a website. There is a website just showing you the track of everything and why this happened. You could come to this website, anybody, English or Arabic, and you could come and judge, are they doing a good job or not? And you could really send something to His Highness telling them this is not correct. And he will respond. They will respond about it and they will get back to you.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Honestly, I'm just waiting, anxious to see, inshallah, when we do 2030. Prince Mohammed bin Salman, once he was asked, and it was a smart question. He was asked in an interview, okay, now we have 2030. What will come after 2030? He said 2040.
Yes.
Immediately. The vision is ready for 2040. Don't ask me what. Mark. Good. Because
Right.
you freeze.
Right. I think that's wonderful. Oh, no. Yeah, I think that's fabulous. I think that having not only a vision, and I mean, it's accountability. It's very much holding yourself accountable, putting the plans out there and saying, look, this is how we are going to operate. This is how we're going to make it, and then sticking to it. And then the more you stick to it and the more you hit those milestone dates, the more trust people have that the right people are making the right decisions, that the leadership is strong, and that everything is going according to plan. And then that builds culture. That builds this sense of, yes, I'm on this team, and this team is succeeding.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think did we close this chapter here?
I think so. Yeah. Mission Magic was not only I think customer or guest experience, it's also very important for employee experience to really kind of marry these together to be sure that we are growing these messages at the same time and at the same rate.
Yeah, 100%. Again, thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for giving me the time. I'm looking forward for our new third story and coming session. Thank you, everyone, for attending and listening or seeing us. This was Wareed Al Hamdan from CX Snax. Goodbye.